Wake up, wake up, wake up, and welcome to another day that we didn't deserve, guys. It is Monday and the beginning of the week. Y'all already know I am so excited. And some of you may wonder, why are you so excited? What makes you excited? Because I have another day and another opportunity for greatness. And I never, ever, ever want to take that for granted. God has been so good. He has been so mighty. He has been so merciful toward me. And I am excited for another opportunity for greatness, guys. God put breath in our lungs and it's a good day, right? It's going to be a great week. So for this week, one of the things that I was thinking about actually ending last week and into this week, I was thinking about this shift and this change that I've noticed even within myself. And I wanted to share that with you guys because one of the things that I think has changed with me lately is getting on assignment. And some of you guys, if you're anything like me, I came out of a season where I was kind of stuck. I came out of a season where I almost felt like I was stagnant in a place. And even though God was doing new things and different things throughout my life, it was just like, it was some unsettling there. And when I think back on it and I'm like, Lord, what shifted? What changed? And for me, it was something as simple as a YouTube channel, just walking in the obedience of what God had told me to do, something so simple. But what God did with that was life-changing for me, right? But one of the things that I can pinpoint and say, you know what, Lord, that made a difference is when I got on assignment. And I want to challenge you guys to do that this week. For some of you guys, you're running your business, you're trying to do this venture, you're trying to do this thing, but what you haven't done yet is you really haven't sat at the feet of Jesus and you haven't said, Lord, what is the assignment, right? And some of you have not looked at your business or looked at your venture as your assignment. So I challenge you to sit at the feet of Jesus and allow him to reignite in you the thing that he put inside of you, to reignite in you the gift that he has given you, to reignite in you the opportunity that he's blessed you with. And I don't want you to bury those gifts. I want you to go out and I want you to run with them. I want you to go and I want you to multiply what God has given you, but I want you to get on assignment, and it has to be a God-sized assignment. And when you get on assignment, the thing that it has done for me, and I pray that it does for you, when you get on assignment, it's funny how you no longer have room for negativity. You no longer have room for negativity. I know for me, there was so much going on in my head. There's so much going on in my head for what I need to deliver, what I need to work on. I'm a huge fan now of my calendar and trying to work on timing, trying to work on positioning because I don't want to miss the timing of God. And for a person like me who's habitually late, those are the things that I'm working on. So I have so much going on in my mind as far as, okay, delivering on this and making sure I'm on time for that and trying to get things in order to be a great steward of what God has given me. Honestly, I just don't have the time, the space, or the energy for any negativity. And to be quite honest, I'm not making room for it. I'm not making any room for it. And when I got to that point in my life, it became a place of bliss. It became a place of peace. Right? One of the things that I used to do is almost like I used to have this conversation in my head over and over and over again in my head of all the negative things. And if any of you are like me, you definitely need to change, allow God to change the conversation in your head. For me, it was almost like replaying, watching over and over a horror series, knowing it was going to give me nightmares, right? And that would be the negativity in my head, but I would continuously replay it and replay it and replay it in my head, knowing it was going to be problematic. It was almost like I was binge watching the negativity of my life. I was binge watching it in my head over and over and over and over again. It would play. But I present to you guys this morning, that you should not be in the habit of binge watching anything unless it's the word of God. Absolutely nothing. Don't you meditate on anything. Don't you rehearse anything. Don't you do, unless it's the word. You shouldn't be in the habit of binge watching anything unless it is the word of God. Why is that? Why is that? Because it's not good for you. It's not good in your personal life. It's not good in your emotional life. It's not good for your mental life. And only if it is the word is it good for your spiritual life. You don't believe me? Let me show you how. So for your personal life, if you wind up binge watching anything, now me, I used to be a little binge watcher for some of the Netflix shows. I gotta admit, used to be a little binge watcher for that. But what I found, especially in my personal life, is that I wound up procrastinating in other areas. And I simply got distracted from the purpose and from the plan that God had for my life. So yes, it was entertaining. Sometimes it would make me laugh, right? But sitting there and doing that, what it also did was it made me procrastinate in other areas and become distracted of what God had called me to. So a good thing became a destiny blocker, okay? For your emotional life, right? You wind up going over those conversations, going over things again and again and again and again in your head. What it does is it winds up causing you to hang on to those thoughts, those ideas, and those feelings that were simply meant to pass by. But instead of letting them pass by, you hang on to them. You take them as truth. You take them as reality, and you take them as your label, your tag, and your identity. And that is not what God has intended for you. That's not what God has intended for you. And when you allow that so long to affect your personal life, your emotional life, it begins to bleed over into your mental life, your mental health, and your mental state. So then you come to a place where you have a hard time really making good decisions. You have a hard time now managing those difficult situations. And it's affected your mental health and your ability to just function cognitively. And of course, when it comes to your spiritual life, and you wind up rehearsing those things over and over and over again, you wind up building your own idols. And you say, how do I build an idol if I'm rehearsing negativity? Because when you're rehearsing negativity, what you're doing, you're also in a state of comparison. You're in a constant state of comparison. And even though what you're rehearsing in your head is negativity, you're now beginning to build this sense of what you wish you were, what would have, could have, should have been. And you wind up building an idol around image. You wind up building an idol around the ideal life. You wind up building an idol around these things. And it's no good for your spiritual life. So my challenge for you today is to bring all of that before Jesus. Bring it before God's feet and say, Lord, what is the assignment? Send me on assignment. I'm willing to go. If you are on assignment and you've forgotten, right? Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes, especially if your assignment is the business, especially if your assignment is this venture, sometimes you're so bogged down in the weed of things and maybe not feeling capable enough. Maybe feeling like you don't have the capacity enough to handle this thing that God has given you. You get so focused on that you lose focus on the sight that God is the one that sent you out in the first place. And if He sent you out, there's no way you can fail. Get on assignment. Allow God to change that conversation in your head. Make no room for negativity and watch and see what God does in your life. Take what you need and get on about your business.